So we're finishing last in our group. At time. This video was sponsored by OneFootball. Alongside amazing features like live match scores, match alerts, and news from your favorite clubs, OneFootball is now bringing Italian Serie A to those in the UK and Ireland. So if you live in either of these countries, you'll be able to watch one selected Italian Serie A match for free every single match day. This time around, the upcoming match is Empoli versus AC Milan, so you don't want to miss that one. Those in the UK and Ireland also now have access to all Italian Serie A highlights. Not only that, you'll get instant near-live clips of goals scored to your phone. And remember, OneFootball is completely free. So click that link in the description and download OneFootball on either Apple or iOS, because I promise you won't want to miss out. As if we needed any more evil bald men in our lives. Recently, the US played their last two friendlies before the World Cup, which is in less than 60 days. But these friendlies were an opportunity for the US to be a little more familiar with some World Cup type quality teams. It was also a good way for players to cement themselves into that final squad in November. Well, that would be for the case, except for the likes of John Brooks, a center back who is much better than pretty much every other center back in the current squad. For some reason, Berhalter has had some weird vendetta against John Brooks. Like, I totally get being left out in the window after kind of being not so great against Honduras, but he's improved and he's still not back. But for some reason, we have Aaron Long. Please just put me out of my misery. And then there was Jordan Pefok, who wasn't called up, supposedly due to injury, or at least making sure that he was available for the actual World Cup. That apparently hasn't been the case whatsoever. Mind you, this player has 6 goal contributions in 6 starts for Union Berlin in the Bundesliga. They're literally top of the league right now, I think. But anyways, we'll get back to that stuff later. Our first friendly was against Japan in Düsseldorf. And even before kickoff, we weren't exactly off to a great start. Because of injuries to our better defenders like Miles Robinson, who has been out for months now, and more recently Chris Richards, the US's defensive duo against Japan was none other than Mr. Nebraska himself, Walker Zimmerman, and Aaron f***ing Long.
When is it gonna end, Robbie?
Now, to give you context as to why watching Pablo Maldini defend for Arsenal is 100 times better than watching this shit, Greg Berhalter wants to have a system where the team plays from the back, with 2 of the worst on-the-ball defenders in the squad. So, as a result, as you'd probably expect, the US were terrible in building up play. These 2 defenders, as you would probably predict, were not good on the ball and constantly kept giving away the ball. But not only that, the movement to even produce was severely sluggish. In order to build up play, there has to be constant combinations linking together, complemented by adjustments in position to create pockets of space. And never once did the US ever do anything close to that. And because nothing really got started, no one could really get going. The midfield struggled big time and the attack was more non-existent than my chances of finding luck. But Japan, on the other hand, excelled in build-up play. Because here's the thing. They actually have 2 defenders that are competent on the ball, especially Takahiro Tomogotsu. You had the quick movement, the passing on par, plenty of triangles being created, and then when the time was right, there'd be a line-breaking pass to one of the wingers. It was really fun to watch. And my god, I hope Wataru Endo gets the plaudits he deserves from that match, because he was a machine. Watching Japan move the ball, though, genuinely felt like I was watching an episode of Aoashi. Like, I'm not even kidding. Another aspect of the Japanese game, though, that pulled the US apart was the high pressing. We were witnessing goddamn Moriyasu gegenpressing. The Blue Samurai were not afraid to go balls to the walls, and it really paid off in this match. An interception in the midfield resulted in the first goal by Daichi Kamada, but it could have been far more brutal from the Japanese. We are lucky that the only way Japan will ever find a clinical finisher is through anime, because it could have easily been like 3-0 before the end of the half. Going into the second half, though, Greg Berhalter didn't change anything to his tactics and also subbed off Gio Reyna for Jordan Morris. Please, someone just end. And to everyone's amazement and shock, the US were carved out like a pumpkin. Kaoru Mitoma scored Japan's second late on, and the US ended the game with not a single f***ing shot on target. This result wasn't sloppy or a struggle as the media wants to put it. It was a f***ing embarrassment. Japan's a great team, but we made them look like prime Barcelona. But well played to Japan. I have all the respect towards them. Now, I know their group is pretty difficult, but I wouldn't exactly count them out, especially with how much talent is in that team. Thinking about it now, I am kind of happy that Japan beat the US, because now the ignorant US soccer fans will shut the f*** up about Asian qualifiers. I mean, I'm just saying, at least we gave them a fight. But it gets even better, because our second friendly was against Saudi Arabia, a nation that the US is pretty familiar with. The US had their injury problems, but not as bad as Saudi Arabia had it. I can't remember entirely, but I think it was 5 of their starters were out, and not to mention their starting goalkeeper plays in the 2nd division of the Saudi leagues. So really, if this was gonna be a moment in time to bounce back for the US, it would be this game. But did they take that chance? Oh, you bet they didn't. Nothing happened. You either had meaningless short passes to slow down the game and let Saudi Arabia shape up, or you had the long balls and vibes, which, yeah, some of them actually landed, but did anything come after that? No, because for some reason, no one wanted to go into the box. However, it wasn't the match that got on my nerves the most. That would go to the Fox Sports commentators. Now sure, this was a friendly, and you shouldn't really be, you know, fighting for your life in a friendly, but this idea of having an excuse to play like shit and play with no intensity just because of a friendly is ridiculous, and I kept hearing it throughout the entire match. Saudi Arabia had a little more of an excuse at least, because they had 5 of their players out, but they still looked better than us. Also, I think I heard about Ricardo Pepi's struggles more than I ever heard the name Greg Berhalter, and considering that the entire team except for Matt Turner has performed throughout these last 2 matches, I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe this goes down to the coach? The whole number 9 conversation infuriates me, because none of the options we have get proper chances because our coach hired in the name of nepotism is completely fucking inept. Stuart Holden and JP Dellacamera, I beg of you, grow some fucking spines, because putting pressure on Pepe instead of the coach, who hasn't managed to get a single player performing, is fucking despicable. If you're really gonna hide behind the Berhalter bounce pass jokes that have been buried by quirky millennials in the media just to have some good standing with US soccer, please, for the love of God, get the fuck off my television.
Well, what do you think so far? What if the Greg Berhalter bounce pass that got the cheer from
Anyways, the match ended in a severely boring 0-0, and that was followed up by Greg Berhalter praising the team's efforts and intensity. What f***ing intensity? My brother in Christ, Vietnam gave more of a fight against both of your opponents at full strength. God, I'm 95% sure that the US are gonna finish last in this group. Oh, but the last time the US struggled in friendlies before the World Cup, we went all the way to the course. Shut the f*** up. Please shut the f*** up. I've witnessed Berhalter ball for 4 years, and nothing has changed. I can assure you that there's not going to be some magic overnight that switches Pep and Berhalter's bodies right before the World Cup. And the thing is, I wouldn't have as much of a problem if it wasn't for the fact he was so adamant about playing a certain way that has at its best only beaten the Mexican version of himself 3 times. Greg Berhalter is more persistent about his so-called system than your local scammer asking for baby formula. Numerous times we have seen this man not pick players who don't fit his system. The likes of John Brooks, as we've mentioned before, and now apparently Jordan Pefok. And even then, that makes no sense to me. Paul Areola, why is he in this team? Because he works hard? And how does Mark McKenzie, a top defender in Belgium with better on-the-ball skills, not even get a start over Aaron Long? And how the f*** does Jordan Morris still make this squad? Also, another question. What system? I've never seen the slightest bit of consistency when it comes to Greg Berhalter matches. Watch 5 games of his. They're all over the place. You'll never identify a single kind of identity. The only consistency there is are the high-end talent that constantly save this man's job. But this idea of getting players to fit your system and completely disregarding any that don't is such a bad way to approach international football. No matter what, you want all your best players in that squad. This isn't a club team. You can't just trust the process with 10 weeks spread out amongst 12 months. It's not possible. It's just mind-boggling that we've seen no evolution in Berhalter's playstyle, and he is still the coach. Watching the US under Berhalter is like watching the Eternals. You see 10 individuals trying to work out a mess of a script, and the result is either mid or dialogue. I used to think that we should wait until after the World Cup to fire Greg, but at this point, I just want him to f*** out now. Because by keeping Greg Berhalter, US Soccer are not only sabotaging their own team, they're sabotaging their chance of really growing this sport in this country.
No, I think we got some clarity. You know, we talked about it today with the group and with the coaching group. And, you know, I think things became pretty clear.
What became clear to you?
Things.
I can't do this anymore. Get him the out. I literally have no hope for this team, man. I don't. The only hope I have is that Harry Maguire concedes more goals than Aaron Long. And it sucks because there's so many bright talents. This is a new golden generation that we could totally take advantage of. I hate this idea that 2022 is like a stepping stone, a bit of learning experience, because we should really take this on. We have players that have the caliber to actually fight for, I don't know, maybe the knockouts, if we had a competent coach. And I get that there's still some players injured like Timothy Weah. I love Timothy Weah. He's the one bit of hope when it comes to that attack. But it's just always going to be held down by this just mess of a system. There is no system. I don't know why I keep saying system. Greg Berhalter's so-called system is similar to my fucking malfunctioning AC right now. I mean, it's crazy how the biggest thing US supporters will be celebrating in this World Cup is the firing of Greg Berhalter. But I'd love to hear what you guys think about this whole situation. There's surely going to be a mix of US supporters and everyone else just making fun of us. I can't wait. But a massive shout out to all our patrons, of course. Janos Balash, Sensley Hank Dennis, El Fabi, Miliway009, Alex Rod, Ulta, Amin Suamez, Arnulfo Martinez Jr., Daniel Ortiz, Darkwolf476, Francisco Hernandez, Jax206, Juan Leras, Kev FM, Windy Mintang, Parafocus, Rory Burns, Subscribe to Tendetem, The Motor Drive, Tomicus, Trevor Batson, Triple GK, Vanilla Mexican 17, Victor, Kaluas G, Chris Damasceno, Declan Malloy, Dominic Griffin, Emmett Shea, Lewis, Jordan Clavitt, Mohammed Al-Bakhail, MX Wee, Patrick Barley, President Pulisic, Tom Little, and Unbroken Persona. If you'd like to join the Patreon, there'll be a link down below and up in the annotations. You can follow my Twitter if you'd like, follow my Instagram if you want, follow my TikTok, trying to get to 15,000 there, and of course, you can follow my semi-active Twitch. But until then, I'll see you guys.